So getting into chapter 16, basically just the introduction. Planning is a key function of management, and a program a key tool. Remember that programming is only a tool. It's not actual management of your time. It's just a tool of keeping track and managing your time. However, no construction job usually turns out as expected, and change always has to be managed. Control measures are needed, and the client only looks at the master program. Please take note, that's very important. He's not really interested in the other managing programs or so. He's only looking at your master program. Okay, most contracts have similar provisions. For instance, your date of site possession, date of possession of specific sections of the site, and then date of completion of sections, etc. So the contractor may have a number of different types of programs, as discussed earlier. And then early warning systems. This is a very practical thing that you guys can use. Is many of these programs actually has tools like you can put in little diamonds or arrows that just helps you to locate areas. So you've got like, for instance, order, information required, nominations, deliveries, some sample improvement, design approval, site measurements, and then actual progress. So this is just a few items that you can use. This is more practical. I'm not going to test you guys on this. So okay, then your progress and delays. Progress reporting. Example of events: the contract is frequently delayed. So you can go read through 16.6 for me, which is all about progress and delays, and it's very important that you guys do read through this, and I'll probably in the near future have a bit of a informal assessment on this. So please make sure that you guys know what a contractor risk event is. For instance, delay by the subcontractor, weather delays, labor, and employer risk events such as variations in designs, changes, late possession, again, then other reasons. So you guys must be able to discuss 16.6 for me. Okay, then progress reporting. The purpose of progress recording is to provide a record of weekly and progress in order to assist the construction director, contracts manager, and the site agent, and to inform the monthly site progress meeting with the architect and administrator, basically to keep track of what's going on. Then you have many procedures to assist you in this. In this chapter, you can easily see they've got this little diagram that's included here. So I'm going to go to 16.4. Okay, so 16.4, if you guys have read through 16.7, is your procedure for recording progress, your progress recording procedures in practice, recording on the bar chart, etc. You guys can just read through that for me. What I want you guys to look at for me though is this 16.4, and it gives you an example of your earliest event and your latest event. So this is your projections of your cash flow or valuations of value that you've done. So you've got your earliest event for your valuation, which is your optimistic evaluation, which goes up there, and then you've got your latest event, which is your more pessimistic view. So this is now the one in green that I'm dotting. Okay, can you see there? So it's your latest event valuation, and then this is your earliest event. What's the quickest that something might happen? Okay, and then obviously you get your actual and I'm going to mark that in yellow so that this is your actual. Okay, so what they basically did is they had an optimistic view and a pessimistic view, and then you have your actual earned value that you could create. So please note that you have a ahead of schedule. Just put it back on red. You've got your ahead of schedule, so it's on this side. Behind on schedule, which is now where's your behind? Here's your behind, your 78. There's your behind. Okay, and then anything in between this area here is on program. Okay, so there's basically a bit of a float that you've got here. So you will see here is 110, and it means that you're on program. So you guys can see this is a bit of a theory question that I might ask, so please go through this section. It's very straightforward, just to remember that. Okay, then you need to go through delays. I'm not going to go through this. This is very much theory that we've actually dealt with before, where the employer is at fault, where the contractor is at fault, where no one is at fault, force majeure as usual. So you guys have done this in CCM, so I'm not going to repeat this. But you will have to know or draw from this information when you do your discussions. So please don't neglect this. Then we focus on your type of delays. You've got your delay event, which is, if you go on page 360, you will see your delay event. It refers to something that happens or a set of circumstances that arise that lead to a delay. The delay event may be the responsibility of the employer or the contractor, or may be beyond the power of either party. Okay, so that's a delayed event. It's an event that causes the delay. Then you've got culpable delay, where the delay is the fault of the contractor. This is also referred to as a non-excusable delay or contractor delay, but we'll have a look at culpable later on. It just means someone is to blame for the delay. Then you've got a non-culpable delay, where the contract is late through through no fault of his own, which is your items, for instance, late in issuing of information. And then you've got your neutral delays, and the neutral delays is divided into different sections. This is where the delay is caused by factors beyond the control of either the contracting parties, but does not mean that neither party bears a risk. Okay, neutral delays at the contractor's risk is bad weather, okay, late delivery, delay by subcontractors. Okay. Neutral delays for the employer's risk is exceptional bad weather, discovery of ancient artifacts, strikes affecting the site work, off-site manufacturing or transport. Okay, and then you've got your concurrent delays, is where two or more delays happen simultaneously. Okay, so all of these things lead to extension of time. So your extension of time is very important for me. You must be able to learn this, or you should learn this. It comprises the following: through specific clauses in the contract. Extension of time is usually for specific events beyond the contractor's control. Procedures for the contractor to follow when making an application. Okay, he has to give notice at least. Then the procedure for the contract administration to follow when giving consideration to the contractor's application. Okay, so there's procedures how to claim for it, there's procedures how to accept it or reject it. Okay, so please don't just only learn these three bullets, just read through the sections later on. I want you guys to please read through 16.9 for me to get background, so that you guys can actually extensively discuss the items that's listed there. Okay, then we get to the principal agent. Either he grants the contract the extension of time, or and he should state the reason, and then he should review the situation later, give a relevant notice, and then calculate the time and cost implications of that. Okay, so that's more or less the procedures, very short, a shortened version of that. Then the rest of the chapter goes through the practicality of delays. So I want you guys to read through it so that you will be able to actually answer certain actions of delays and as planned, or if it's not planned. Okay. Then I want you to look at as planned programs and as built programs. So basically, your as planned programs is your planned program, as the word basically says. Your as built programs is if there's any delay, then that program changes, and that as planned program now becomes the as built program, which is illustrated in the next few slides. Okay, so you've got your master program, your baseline program, and it just basically gives you a scenario of when it is extended. So you've got your critical activities 1, 2, 4, and 5. Then you've got your non-critical activities, which is activity 3. And then you've got a bit of a available flow, logical links showing the dependencies, and then you've got the contract completion date. And then you've got your baseline program is your as planned program, baseline bars beneath the bars. I'll show you guys that now. Then logical links between is usually hidden, facility of most software packages. Okay, so your logical links, you guys can you know what that is. That's basically just linking your items with each other. Okay, so that was the planned section. Now we get to the progress. At week 4, the baseline program is shown. Okay, the progress is shown with a jagged line at week 4. Piling is 70% complete, behind on program. Your pile caps is 10% complete, also behind on program. Other activities have not yet commenced. Other activities has not yet commenced. Then you do your rescheduling accordingly, and the program is updated for progress. Incomplete and yet to be started activities are moved to the week 4 progress line. Then the baseline remains in place. The baseline is shown. I'm going to focus on that now. Then a delay of 4 days is indicated. Okay, then just take note that the delay shown in figure 16.8 are contracted risks event, which the cause of the delay is the contractor's responsibility under the contract, e.g. bad weather, slow and inefficient working, late delivery of materials, and lateness of the part of the on part of the subcontractors. Okay, so that's the scenario in the background. So here you can see in 16.7, this is your planned program. So your displays using Project Commander. Okay, we usually have CCS or Microsoft Projects. Commander haven't worked on yet, but it just gives you a program with all the linkages in, and then it's the same program just given here underneath with your baseline underneath. Your Microsoft Project, that little line is the same in Microsoft Project. Microsoft Projects just give you the opportunity to keep the links in here and to show all the information like this. Okay, so this was before the project started. Now during the project there was the delay that we spoke of earlier. So you can see this is where the actual progress is. Okay, and this is where it was supposed to be. Okay, so this is at week 4, this was where the project was supposed to be. So now what the program does is all they did was they moved the entire program out, and so that item is still not complete. That item still has quite a bit of work to do. This one had the float, the 2 weeks float that they spoke of. Okay, so that can start on that delay, and then you can see that this item's moved out. Okay, so this is still on the baseline. This one moved out because that one is linked to that one, and that moves out, and that one is linked to that one. But you can see your baseline stays intact, and it shows this was your planned program which has been extended. Okay, fairly straightforward. So you must be able to indicate to me what a baseline program is. It's basically a baseline, a snapshot of what your original design was. Okay, then they continue with the discussions, and then revise program at week 4, update your logical links is unhidden to show dependencies, including 2 employer risk events impacted after the week 4. And the update, 10 days delay for the redesign of the rebar to the ground beams, and then a further 8 days delay for off-site fabrication of the new rebar. Then your progress at week 8, so now we take a snapshot at week 8. The update for the progress is as follows, then showing your revised completion date to be 12 plus 3 days. So your overall delays is now 8 days. So you've got your 8 days that was added, and then we're going to show it now to you. So the delays in 16.9 are partly contractor risks and partly the employer risk events. The employer risk events are where the cause of the delay is the employer's responsibility under the contract, and delays instructions exceptional, including weather, unforeseen ground conditions, as this case design variations underground beams. So basically what it says is 10 days delay for redesign of the rebar to the ground beams, and then a further 8 days delay off-site fabrication of the new rebar. So it's basically 8 days was for the contractor, the rest was for the employer. Okay, so if there was a claim evaluation that had to take place, this would be the case. Then your overall completion date is 8 days. The contract completion delayed from week 10 to week 12 is 3 days added, and then less your contractor delays event, 4 days. Contractor was incapable delays of the piling and caps activities, so basically he had 4 days delay of that, and then therefore the employer risk events is 4 days. So basically this just evaluates that 4 days of the total delay was for the contractor, and then 4 days was for the client. Okay, and then just shows you that further delay. So let me just get to that. Let's focus here on the bottom. So here was your first delay, which pushed your program out, and then you have your let me just go to 16.9. Okay, so your ground slab, okay, your original completion date was here at the 11th. Sorry guys, the quality is a bit isn't too good on this little snapshot that I took, but you guys can have a look on page 373 where it's actually shown what the original completion date would be, and you can also see that this is where the original baseline was. So with all the previous work, you can see that there was an entire delay of 8 days. Okay, so this is now after 8 weeks. The previous one had a delay up to that point, which is shown on page 374, 16.8. Okay, so that's more or less the delays. So the project moved out with 8 days to that side. So I would advise you guys just to read through this example for me again, and just familiarize yourself with it. Just as a closing note is, even though the employer risk events amounted to some 18 days, the contractor extension of time entitled is only 4 days. Okay, so this is the whole scenario. So the entire project moved out with 18 days. This is because the overall delay was only 8 days, because the ground beams activities was non-critical. Okay, and then and it had 10 days float. Okay, so that's where that 10 days fell away. Then the contractor was also culpable for an amount of 4 days. Okay, so that is how they got to the 8 days delay with 4 days of the contractor's responsibility. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. If you do struggle with it, please pop me a mail or give me a ring, and then I'll try and resolve it for you. Okay, thanks guys. And then just on page 375, there's a few last items that I just want to highlight for you. Please read through 16.16. Here they talk about the project has been delayed for one reason or another. The contractor may wish to bring forward the completion date, or may be asked to do so by the client. If the contractor is not at fault, in these circumstances, he should be paid for this trouble and effort through the separate agreement with the client. Some standard conditions of contracts, such as the ICE conditions, provide for this. There are several types of accelerations which have different legal meanings. Okay guys, so these items, pure acceleration, constructive acceleration, and expedite accelerations, is not too important for me. It's legal terms, but for our purposes we're not going to focus on that too much, because it is quite technical, and we don't usually work on the ICE contracts. It basically just means what we discussed now is there's 3 delays. Either it is for the contractor's cost, no one's cost, or the employer's cost. So those are the main 3 focus areas that you need to know about your delays. Thanks, bye.